So, this infinity wave is kind of a new approach to managing getting into harmony and getting into the space of compassion and love. And the really great thing is it's instantly available. You don't have to purchase anything. You don't have to, unless you want to purchase her book, of course. You don't have to purchase anything to use it, and it's malleable. That means that you can take the symbol and adjust it and move it in whatever way you need to for whatever it is you're trying to achieve in your life, and it's programmable. Super, super simple. So what it does is it creates a sense of inner harmony. So in her book, she goes through a whole bunch of, what is energy, what is resonance, what is entrainment, what is all that good stuff, what is sacred geometry. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But it also, she gives you some good history around spiritual awakening and talks about her journey, which is a really lovely thing to follow along with, because it may resonate with where you are. But this beautiful symbol that was gifted and given to her to bring to the world is about creating inner harmony and balance, and it smooths confusion, fear, um, uh, anger, frustration, heartache, whatever it is that you're kind of being blocked by. This lovely symbol can help you with that. Hello, everyone. You are listening to Separation to Oneness, and I welcome you. I'm Niki Hughes, and we will delve into the profound subjects of life, love, and spirituality. We are going to investigate and reveal how to live from that limitless reservoir of happiness, care, and resilience. And then once there, how we can allow ourselves to move into the space of bliss, the connection to everything. And that's what I call oneness. And so to find out more about my work, please visit my website. I am at elementalbalance.ca. I really hope you enjoy this episode, and if you feel it's valuable, I ask that you would kindly share it with someone who's important to you. Hello, everyone. Are you looking for inner calm or calm in chaotic relationships, chaotic situations? If you're looking for that inner calm and a really fast way to do this, I have this amazing tool that I found by chance. I'm going to tell you the story about that. That is really can bring in quick shifts to your emotional state. It'll calm your emotions. It'll bring harmony instantly. So I'm going to share this with you today in my podcast. So I'm going to cover a few things here today. I'm going to cover sort of the background of how I found it and who brought this to the world, because it's an amazing thing that someone else has brought forward. What it is and how to use it, how to work with it in your daily life, and where, of course, where you can get more information. So before we begin, if you are watching this on YouTube, just make sure that you like or subscribe so you don't miss anything coming up in the future. And if you enjoy this podcast, which I really hope you do, you can share this. I hope you'll share this with someone that you love and care about. This is a really, really interesting podcast today because it's a tool that everybody can use and it's easy. There's no great, huge complications in doing it. It's quite simple. So a little while ago, probably a month ago, I was, cruising the podcast looking for something to listen to because I like to do that, especially when I'm gardening. And I came across Pam Gregory's latest one, and I listened to Pam Gregory. Pam Gregory, she's an awesome astrologer out of the UK. Always has wonderful things to tell us around the energies and what's happening on a global scale. So I listened to Pam. And she had a lovely, lovely guest on, and I've never heard of this woman before, and her name was Hope Fitzgerald. Great name, Hope. And she was on talking about the infinity wave. Okay, so this is a tool that she has brought into the world and is hoping to get it and wanting to get it out there to really help folks when they're awakening or moving into their spiritual selves. And so once you learn how to do this, you're going to start waving at everybody and you won't want to stop, which is great. So Hope Fitzgerald has a lovely book out. And as soon as I listened to the podcast, I bought her book. It's called The Infinity Wave by Hope Fitzgerald. So it's here for you if you want to look at it. It's a very small book, but it's packed with lots of really cool information. And so her story, and I won't get into too much of it, so you've got some good stuff to read about. But back in 2010, I believe, she was sort of looking for a way to shake the world into awareness. She was deeply in her own spiritual journey and felt that she really wanted, or there was some deep drive in her to bring something out in the world to help people. Well, she had some visions in 2020. She's in her book, she says she had a set of three visions. And in November of 2020, that's when all of this infinity wave and how to work with it was downloaded to her from the 10th dimension. Um, so it really is a wonderful, easy tool that uses your imagination and intention. It is a watery figure. I'm going to read you just one passage from this book because it really does identify, it tells you exactly what it is. She says, miraculously, at the same time, I was given a great gift to help with this gift, a gift that I was meant to share with the world. The infinity wave. I was told that this watery figure eight is a 10th dimensional energetic containing a highly purified form of love and compassion in its flow. And as a geometric shape, the eight naturally imbues unity consciousness and balance, as above, so below. It's a wonderful, wonderful expression. And so it is this figure eight. So she had this vision and she went home and it wouldn't leave her. It was in front of her for 3 days, this giant figure eight, this watery figure eight that was right in front of her. And back then in 2020, she says that infinity symbol was nowhere. She was searching for it online. Nobody was using it. And, fast forward to now, and the infinity symbol is in a lot of things because that's one of the sacred geometries that we can all connect to because it's all about life, right? It's part of life. And so what she did, which just to back up a bit, just before she had this download, she was doing some work with Tom Kenyon. And Tom Kenyon is a wonderful, wonderful sound healer, and he channels the Hathors who create sound and frequency. And she said she'd spent a weekend at Tom Kenyon's retreat, and it completely opened her. And that's how the download started coming in, is she was completely open to it. And I guess she'd moved herself to the right frequency. She'd let go of all the junk she didn't need anymore. And she was a clear channel to download it. And so it's a wonderful thing, sound healing. And I'll probably do a session on that too, because I do sound healing a lot, but it opens you up. And for Hope, from her story, she was able to download this wonderful information and these visions came. So this infinity wave is kind of a new approach to managing, getting into harmony and getting into the space of compassion and love. And the really great thing is it's instantly available. You don't have to purchase anything. You don't have to, unless you want to purchase her book, of course. You don't have to purchase anything to use it. And it's malleable. That means that you can take the symbol and adjust it and move it in whatever way you need to for whatever it is you're trying to achieve in your life. And it's programmable. Super, super simple. So what it does is it creates a sense of inner harmony. So in her book, she goes through a whole bunch of, what is energy, what is resonance, what is entrainment, what is all that good stuff, what is sacred geometry. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But it also, she gives you some good history around spiritual awakening and talks about her journey, which is a really lovely thing to follow along with, because it may resonate with where you are. But this beautiful symbol that was gifted and given to her to bring to the world is about creating inner harmony and balance, and it smooths confusion, fear, anger, frustration, heartache, whatever it is that you're kind of being blocked by. This lovely symbol can help you with that. So it's water. There's water in the symbol. So it's a figure eight that is filled with water, and water is a really important, almost symbolic spiritual metaphor, as well as water is life. Water is life for us here on the planet. And so she talks about how you have to learn to swim or surf it instead of resisting life. So it's like learning how to surf or swim in that water and just let it flow. It's that beautiful flow rather than that resistance or the pushing. Pushing is also resistance. So one of the things she talked about in her book, which I found kind of amusing, because it resonated and I'd heard this word before and never really knew what it was. She talked about the training that she took earlier on, and it's funny how the universe in your journey lines everything up and it just goes boom, 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 and everything just clicks and makes sense. And I think that's what happened for her. So she talked about her training, and I won't get into too much of the technicalities behind it because there are some in the book if you find that interesting. And just about how energy constricts and then expands as we grow. So we know that energy is a wave, and like the waves of an ocean, it goes in and out. So it constricts and expands. And so do we as humans, the energy in us, we constrict, we expand. And I recently taught a course on money energy, and our money energy can constrict and expand. And oftentimes there is a constriction just before an expansion. So if you're feeling like your life is constricted or you feel like your money is constricted, it may be that watch for the expansion because it's very likely coming, right? So she calls these peduncles, which is a really awesome word. So a peduncle is, and she goes into the science behind it, but to boil it down, it is transitioning from one state to another. Okay, this a peduncle, and she has a diagram that really makes sense. So imagine that there's a whole bunch of free-forming energy in this bottle, and the base of the bottle is wider than the neck, right? So the energy spins and spins, which pushes it upwards. So that spiral of going up, and then it gets into the neck of the bottle and it's squeezed and it's contracted. But then as it comes out of the bottle, whew, it expands, it goes really big. And so that is how energy works. We are in our lives, we're moving along in our lives, we're the energy in the bottom of the bottle. Something happens in our life and we end up in that constricted space. And then as we move through that constricted space, whether it's a conflict, whether it's a challenge, an illness, whatever that is, boom, we come through it and we're expanded. And so there is learning and great understanding about what we've been through. And when you can harvest that, when you can take that learning and understanding, then you can let that other stuff go because you've got what you need to get from it. So it's the energy wave. So we're all energy. All of our systems are energy, and so even the systems that we engage in that are energy can go through those peduncles, the constrictions and then the expansions. Okay. Um, and so the other thing about the figure 8 is it is sacred geometry. And sacred geometry is the building block of the material world, right? So it's tied to fractals. So that infinity symbol is about balance. Okay. It's about balance. There's no beginning and no ending. It's just about flow, right? All is one. And all is one. And so you have to become one with yourself first, which is kind of what this podcast is about, from separation to oneness, the oneness of yourself. And then when you achieve that, it's the oneness of everything around you. So it's the oneness of the people around you, your community, the world, and then consciousness, and then oneness, right? That bliss state. So the wave, that infinity wave with the water in it, it invites you to allow change, and it moves you out of sort of duality, the right and wrong, because flow, there's no two sides to the flow. It's just continuous, right? So it pushes you into a co-creative state. All right. Now, the goal here in working with this energy and the goal in our lives as well, it's not to escape your humanness. I mean, we came here to have a human experience. So if we're constantly searching for ways to get away from our humanness, we're kind of missing the opportunity because we're supposed to figure out what it is to be a spirit in a human body and to taste and live all of the riches of the 3D world, right? So the goal isn't to escape your humanness, but to be free from those dualistic rules, the rights, the wrongs, the yeses, the nos, and to experience living in fullness, freedom, and spaciousness. So think about that figure eight, whether it's up, whether it's straight up and down in your mind or it's side to side, that infinity wave. In nature, it's endless. And we all exist on this continuum of endless flow, right? Across all lifetimes. Energy never dies. So we are constantly in the flow. The other aspect of the infinity wave is the water side of it. So, as I mentioned earlier, water is life. We are 70 to 90% of water in our bodies. We need water to survive. We can't live without it. It is flow. But water for us is also calming, enlivening, and it influences our nervous systems. So if you've ever been in a situation where you're stressed out or unhappy, oftentimes you may have found that you gravitate towards going to the water. I live in a place where there's an ocean that I can go to, but there's also lakes and streams and rivers and all that good stuff. But I know for me, under times of extreme stress, I love to go to the water, and the water regenerates our energy, right? And the other thing about water is it has its own consciousness. So if you've ever done any work or research on Dr. Masaru Emoto, he's done some very famous work on how to change the molecular structure of water through your thoughts and your emotions. So there's some really cool photos out on the internet, and and he's done some miraculous work with just having people stand around a polluted lake and just push love and compassion and joyful thoughts into the water. And, within a very short time, that lake's pollution was gone. So if you're interested in that, it's a great thing to look up. So Dr. Masaru Emoto. And since we are all water, 70 to 90% water, probably more 70, at the end of the day, our water reacts to the emotions around us. It reacts to the energies around us. It reacts to the thought field around us. So if you are having negative thoughts, you're actually changing the cellular structure of the water in your body, and you can direct that at other people too. So, positive thoughts, loving thoughts change the cellular structure, and it has its own consciousness, right? So the water has its own consciousness and is able to interact and react to the thought field. Now, the wave invites in inner harmony, flow, and stability. And so the only thing you really need to do this is your imagination, okay, and intent. So I'm going to just go over how to use it now. It's so simple. I've used it many times since I watched that podcast. So I'm so grateful to Hope Fitzgerald and Pam Gregory for putting that out there. So much so that I thought I would love to share it with you as well, because it's really simple and easy to use. Now, Hope has 9 practices that she has in her book. And so what she did for the first year after it was downloaded, she could continue to get information about needing to put on workshops for this. And she developed these 9 practices with this 10th dimensional energy. And she said she just had to go with absolute trust that what she was doing was right. And it turned out really, really well. So she's got these 9 practices. They are referenced in the book. However, she doesn't describe how to do them. You actually have to buy her course. She does give you access to the first 2 and gives you some other information about how to use the wave, the infinity wave, on a daily basis. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So in order to use the wave, she instructs that you start with bringing that infinity wave into your heart. Okay, so just taking several breaths and just closing your eyes and imagining the wave inside of your heart. Just imagining that figure 8, and it can be up or down, or it can be on its side. Doesn't really matter. Just imagining that wave, and you could even trace it over your heart space as you are sitting in that place. And she suggests that you do this daily. So she calls this the daily wave, just allowing it in your heart, just to really clean your energy, to clean your frequency, get you aligned to a higher level, and allow you to experience inner peace and harmony. Okay. And so then there's the body wave. So you can allow that wave in your heart to stretch out and to lengthen into your body. And you can allow the crossing point to be your solar plexus just below your rib cage or your heart itself. And just allow that to flow and just do that for a few minutes, just closing your eyes and just imagining that water just flowing in that figure eight. Okay, this will shift emotional upsets as well. So if you've had a particular emotional upset and you can feel the distress in your body, as we often do, sometimes it's just our nervous system, you can actually just stretch or put that infinity wave into that place. So a lot of people hold anger in their gut area, or sometimes they feel, I know for a lot of clients I work with find their trauma, their challenges, they can feel it in their heart gets tight. So if you can put one of those infinity waves in your stomach, if you can feel it in your stomach, or stretch it up if you're feeling it in two places, you'll start to feel it soften. And it's a way to change your emotional state. Okay. You can use it for relief from pain. So if you have an injured back or if you have an injured knee, you can just close your eyes and imagine that beautiful infinity wave and the water just flowing over the injured area. And the other thing you can do too is if it feels like the injury needs warmth or if it needs cool, just allow the feeling of warmth or cool to be in the water. Okay. The other fun thing that you can do with this, and this is what I've used it on in my life, and I'm not going to tell you who with. I don't want them to hear this and figure out that I've done this, is through communication, right? So you can use it with communication. So just imagining that this infinity wave is inside your heart. And so stretching out from my heart and coming around into your heart. So we've got this wave of energy going between us just to absolutely soften the communications and open people up to a higher conversation. And Hope has some great examples in her book of where she's used that in difficult kind of crunchy situations with people she didn't even know, and how it just shifted everything. So it's putting that energy right into the conversation from heart to heart. Okay. So those are some ways that you can use that infinity wave right now. You can use it right now. There are 9 practices. There's the daily practice, which I've just gone over with you, several ways to do the daily practice. As I said, in the book, there you get the first 2 practices free. There's a little barcode that you can scan, and if you want to get the remainder of them, you just buy our course, right? So it's totally up to you if you want to do that. So I'm just going to list off what some of them are. I can't go into detail on them because these are things that you need to cover off in her course, and that's how she set up her model. There's an infinity cradle. So that's about getting cleansing support and peace through your body. Body appreciation wave. There's a time travel wave, a power cell wave, and there's a couple more too. And those, I believe, include meditations. I actually have not purchased the course, but I get a good sense of what it is. There's also an infinity wheel that you can use for groups, and you can actually use the infinity wheel out into the whole world. Doesn't that sound good? So her book, Hope Fitzgerald's book, is small. It's an easy read, and it's really interesting to read her story and to understand how through opening up through sound with the Tom Kenyon work, she was open to channel and got this communication from the 10th dimension and was able to bring it in. I think she always knew she was going to bring something to the world, and poof, there it is. So this is something that she brought in 2010 and was working with it in 2011 just to seed the energy here through that whole 2011, 2012 sort of upgrade that we got. But like she said, sometimes the timing is not exactly what you think it's going to be. And this is the time now when the infinity wave is really reaching a knowing for people, and it's more out there, and it's picking up its audience. And sometimes these things take time for the audience, the right audience, to find it. So, how are you going to wave today? Will you wave at yourself? Will you wave with someone else? Just know that I'm waving with you right now. Awesome. So that's the infinity wave. And I really felt like I wanted to share that with you because it's an easy tool that you can use to shift how you feel in any moment. You can do it anywhere. Do it in your car, do it at the grocery store lineup. And you can use it to help improve your communications and relationships with other people, which, we're all here to help each other. We're all here to birth and create with each other. So why not do it from a place of flow and higher living? Awesome. All right. So I want to thank you for listening in and hanging in here. And I hope you found a good tool here. So just covering off what we covered, we talked about the background, Hope Fitzgerald and her story. We covered off sort of what is the infinity wave through the sacred geometry and the water aspects of it. And then how to use it, a few little quick tools on how to use it, and then how to get more information, how to go deeper into the infinity wave. If you want to do that, you can probably just go out to her webpage and purchase the course from her. So thank you again. I look forward to hearing from you about how all your waving's going on. I wish you well with your infinity waves. And if you enjoy this podcast, I would just kindly ask you to share it with someone that you really love and care about, that may benefit from the information that I'm sharing here today. If you are interested in reaching me, you can always find me at my website, www.elementalbalance.ca. And if you're interested in learning and taking a journey of self-love to really pull yourself up in your life and allow yourself to feel that wonderful state of love for yourself so that you can then take that out into the world, please check out my book, Radical Self-Love, Live a Vibrant Life Beyond Fear and Limitation. Wonderful. So thank you so much. And I wish you lots of love and lots of light and lots of waving. Take care.